Dear learners, welcome back to the lectures on Advanced Database Management System. So today in this lecture, we are going to discuss about distributed transactions. So in relational database management system, the, the way we handle the transaction is very, very important. So all the transactions that we are going to handle must follow a set of rules called ACID properties. So you may know about ACID properties, but anyhow we'll discuss. ACID, A for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Atomicity is about either full or none. That is, if you execute a transaction, it has to be ensured that either the complete transaction is getting executed, or if it is not possible to execute the complete transaction, we have to go back to the starting position. That is, either the entire transaction is executed, all the instructions of the transaction executed, or we have to go back to the original starting state. So consistency is about, so at a point of time, anytime we have a data item with a value should be a consistent value. So when you start a transaction, we are starting with a data item with a old consistent value, and once this transaction is successfully completed, what we have is a new consistent value. So this consistency has to be ensured for every transaction. The third thing is isolation. That is, there are multiple transactions are executed in a server. So we want to ensure that there should be no collision between these transactions. That is, all these transactions are executed in an isolated manner. That is, it should give the feel of only that particular transaction is executed at that particular point of time. And finally, durability. If everything goes fine, my transaction successfully completes, my data items are updated with new values, and they are durable. So these are the 4 properties, ACID properties, that we have to ensure while executing any transactions in a centralized database as well. So the same are applicable for distributed transactions also. So in distributed transactions, we have to ensure the atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability properties. But what is different is that in distributed database, the transactions are executed from different sites. So now it is somewhat a little bit complicated to execute all these transactions. Now let us go to the slides. Distributed transactions. When it comes to distributed transactions, we have 2 types of transactions. One is local transaction, the other one is global transactions. So in local transaction, assume that I have 4 different sites and I'm going to access my data from any of these sites. That is, all these sites have data stored. If I'm requesting for some data from site A, which is located in one particular location, and I am local to that location. So in that case, we call that as a local transaction. That is, the server has all the data which I required, and it is going to respond. It's going to respond to my request, and I'm going to access my data from a local transaction. The other one is global transaction. So consider another case where the user needs to access the data which is not residing in the local server. Instead, it is stored in some other server. So in that case, what will happen? The user raises a request. Now the transaction requests go to the local server, and local server cannot find the data in its database. So that means it has to look for the data somewhere else, and it is going to figure out that where exactly the data is stored. Now the responsibility of the server is to forward this request to the concerned server to get the data and give it to the end user in this who raised the request. So now this kind of request is called a global transaction. These kind of transactions are called global transactions. And one more example would be like a manager who is responsible for taking the compiled report of all the branches or all the different sites. Now he has to collect the data from multiple sites to the local site and process the request. So these are all some of the examples of global transactions. So in distributed database management system, we have two different types of transactions. One is local and another one is global. Okay. Now the question is, how do we achieve this? How do we able to handle these local transactions and global transactions? For this, the transaction subsystem in distributed database consists of two components. One is transaction manager, another one is transaction coordinator. So the transaction manager, we have a transaction manager in each site. So it is to verify the ACID properties of the transactions that execute at that site. That is for local transactions. If any request comes for the data residing in this server from that particular region, this is a local transaction. For answering this local transaction, the transaction manager is responsible. The second component is transaction coordinator. That means somebody to coordinate various transactions that are both local and global initiated at that particular site. That is, if a request comes to site A and the data is not residing in that particular site, data available with some other site, say site C and D, now the transaction coordinator of site A is responsible for handling this particular transaction request. See this diagram. This will give you enough information. So the first one, the site 1, site 2 and so on, site N. And you see that in each site we have a transaction coordinator and a transaction manager for each site. If any request comes to the site 1 from the region of the site 1 itself, then transaction manager is responsible to answer the question, answer the transaction. If the transaction request comes from that particular region and the data are residing in different sites, say site 1, including site 1, it may be residing in site 2, site 3 and some other sites. In such case, the transaction coordinator is responsible for handling this transaction. So what are the responsibilities of a transaction manager, the component? So first thing is it's maintaining log files for recovery purpose. So when we deal with the transactions, so any failure may happen. So in such case, how do we recover the data? So log-based recovery is one of the solutions. So maintaining a log file for recovery purpose, this is the job of one of the responsibility of transaction manager. So the other one is participating in an appropriate concurrency control scheme to coordinate the concurrent execution of the transactions executing at that site. So it's also responsible for handling concurrency control that we will discuss later. So concurrency control, what about multiple transactions trying to access the same data items? That is where we need concurrency control schemes. So especially for those transactions executing at that site, the transaction manager is responsible. Then what are the responsibility of the transaction coordinator? The first one is starting the execution of every transaction at that site. So whatever comes to that particular site, suppose if the request comes to that site, site A, and the data are residing in different sites, now site A is responsible for this one. In that case, TC is a responsible person who is initiating the execution of the transaction and breaking the transaction into number of sub-transactions. That is, there is a request comes, the request involves data from one particular site or more sites, one or more sites. So in such case, the request is just a transaction request. Now the job is to break the transaction into sub-transactions and send the subcomponents to concerned sites and to coordinate the termination of the transaction. So at the end, it's going to collect the data from different transaction manager of the different sites, and it is going to give the response to the end user who have raised this question. So for example, now this person requesting some data at site 1. Now the data are residing in site 2 and site 3. Now in that case, transaction manager of site 1 is not responsible. So transaction coordinator of site 1 is responsible. Now the transaction coordinator of site 1 is going to talk to transaction manager of site 2 and the transaction manager of site 3. So transaction manager of site 3 to collect the data, or to process the data and collect the process data and compile it, give it to the end user who have raised the question, raise the thing. So these are the responsibility of the transaction coordinator. So how do we handle this? So to ensure this, for handling the transaction in distributed databases, we have commit protocols. We can use these commit protocols to execute a transaction successfully. So the read of commit protocol is to satisfy ACID properties. So atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. These properties should be satisfied, like in the case of relational database management system, which was executing in a centralized database. The same process has to be followed in distributed database as well. And to ensure all transactions are atomic or not. So for this, we can use one simple protocol called two-phase commit protocol. Two-phase commit protocol. It's one of the simple protocol. So the two-phase commit protocol, as its name says, we have two phases. Now the question is, when does it start? When does the protocol starts? So when all sites are ready to finish the transaction. So let us assume a scenario where request goes from site 1. The request goes to site 1 and it requests for the data which are residing on different sites. Now the transaction coordinator of site 1 is responsible to handle this one. So it make the sub-transactions, the transaction into sub-transactions, and give the proper instructions to all the sites, all the participating sites. So site 1 is the initiating site, and other sites where we are going to work on all are the participating sites. Now, once all the participating sites have completed their process, now they are ready to commit the data. They are ready to commit. They are ready to finish the transaction successfully. So for that case, we are going to, in that case, if all are ready, then we are going to start this process. We are going to start the two-phase commit protocol. So what do we have in commit protocol is some messages that are used for communication. So the message, first message is prepare T. Prepare T is a message which is sent by the transaction coordinator of the initiating site to all the transaction manager of all the participating sites. So prepare T is all are ready if all have instructed properly. So after a threshold amount of time, the transaction coordinator is going to send a prepare T message. Ready T message. Ready T message is the response to the prepare T message. So all the transaction managers of all the participating sites, they are going to respond with ready T if they are ready. Then they are responding to the transaction coordinator. The transaction coordinator is going to receive this message. And the third one is abort T. Abort T. So this is sent by a transaction manager if it is not able to finish the transaction. If it is not able to finish the transaction for any reasons, for some reasons, maybe like all the transaction managers except one is not ready. All the transaction managers are ready except one. So in such case, that particular transaction is going to send an abort message to the sender, that is the transaction coordinator. No T is a message which is written by the transaction manager which is not ready to finish the transaction. So transaction manager writes in its log if it is not ready. That is the fourth message. And final one, commit T. Commit T is going to be responded by the transaction coordinator in case if all the transaction managers are ready to commit. All the transaction managers are ready to commit. Okay. Now let us see how does it work. The two-phase commit protocol, phase 1. In phase 1, the transaction coordinator inserts a prepare T message into its log file in stable storage and sends the message to all the participating sites. Assume that a request comes to site 1 and site 1's transaction coordinator is responsible to handle this particular transaction. So what happens is it is going to write a prepare T message into its log file in stable storage. So this process is carried out to take care about failures. So why should the transaction coordinator has to write the prepare T message in its log file before sending to all the participating sites? It is for the recovery purpose. If in case any failure happens, then we can use the log files to recover from the failures. So what message has been sent or where we are during the failure, to understand this, we are using these messages are usually written into the log file, then we are going to respond. That is log based recovery scheme. So first TC, transaction coordinator, writes the prepare T message in its log file in stable storage. So stable storage, there is we would say that this is a hard disk. Let us assume that hard disk is stable storage and sends the message to all the participating sites. Then on the participating site side, on receiving this message, the transaction managers of participating sites decides their status. That is, what about their status regarding the particular transaction T. So if TM is ready, if any transaction manager, if it is ready, then it writes a ready T message in its log file and reply with a ready T message to the transaction coordinator. That means I am ready. The transaction manager is write a ready T message and says I am ready to the transaction coordinator on committing this particular transaction T. If a TM is not ready, if a transaction manager is not ready, then what happens is it writes a message no T message. No T. No T means I am not able to commit this particular transaction T to its log file and reply TC with a abort T message. So it replies to the transaction coordinator that it cannot commit the transaction. So this is what happening in the phase 1. And what happens in phase 2? So after receiving the messages from participating sites, that is, assume that there are 4 sites participated in this particular transaction. If I receive all the sites, messages from all the sites, or for some reasons we may not get information from the sites also, so we need to have a threshold amount of time interval, so that based on that one the TC can respond instead of waiting for a longer period. So it would cause unnecessary waiting. So what happens is after receiving all the messages from the participating sites, the transaction manager is going to decide what to do. First case, if all transaction managers responded with a ready T message, if all the transaction managers responded with a ready T message, then the transaction coordinator writes a commit T in its log file and send a commit T to all participating sites. That is, all are ready to commit. So it writes the commit T. This transaction was successfully completed. So the transaction can be committed. And it can be committed in all the participating sites as well. So it is going to respond with a commit T message to all the participating sites. Another possibility is that if any TM is responsible with abort T message, the response from one of the transaction manager or few of the transaction manager is abort T, then it is well understood that that particular transaction manager is not able to finish the transaction properly due to some reasons. Then the TC, the transaction coordinator, writes an abort T message in its log file, and send abort T to all participating sites to cancel the transaction T. So this is what the second phase is about. So second phase, it's going to decide about the fate of the transaction T. Now let us see an example of commit transaction, two-phase commit protocol for commit transaction. That is, this example explains you all the transactions are going to respond with ready T message. In that case, what will happen? So step 1, transaction coordinator of site A. Assume that we have 3 sites: site A, site B, and site C. Now site A, you see that TC is written. In site A, TC is written. That is, site A is ready to, site A is the coordinator site. Site A is coordinator site. Site B and site C, these are all the participating sites. Site B and site C are participating sites. Now in the step 1, the transaction coordinator site ready to prepare for commit. Now what happens? All the sites have log files. All the sites have log files internally. So first, site A writes a prepare T message in its log file. Writes prepare T message in its log file. Then send the prepare T message to all the participating sites. It sends a prepare T message. So first it writes the log file with a prepare T message, then responds to all the participating sites with a prepare T message. Second step, upon receiving TMs, the transaction managers of the participating sites, they are going to respond with the status. Now, what they have is, each site, if they are ready, they are going to write a ready T message in their log files, ready T message in their log files, and they are going to respond with a ready T message to all the coordinator site. This is the step 2. They are ready to commit, so that they write a ready T message in its log file and they respond with a ready T to the transaction coordinator. Then the step 3, it is a decision taken by the transaction coordinator, because transaction coordinator is the only person who knows about the decision of all the other participating sites. So the participating sites, they don't have any communication between them. So they are communicating only to the coordinator. So in such case, now the transaction coordinator site writes a commit T message in its log file, because all are ready to commit. So it writes a commit T message in its log file, then respond with commit T message to all the participating sites. They are decided, all the participating sites have decided to commit. So it writes in its log file, then communicate to the participating sites. Now the final step, upon receiving the commit T message, these participating sites write the commit T message in their log file. And the transaction is over. Transaction is successfully completed. So this is how it happens in case of all are responding with ready T message. All the participating sites responding with a ready T message. So another example for abort transaction. What if few of the transactions, few of the sites are not ready to commit? Let's see the same example. The same step 1 is going to be same. The transaction coordinator of site A is preparing for commit. So we have the setup, all these sites, and site A writing a prepare T message in its log file and communicate prepare T to all the participating sites. In step 2, upon receiving this message, the participating sites are going to respond with a message. For example, site B is ready to commit, so it writes ready T message in its log file. Site C is not ready to commit due to some reasons, so it writes no T in its log file. No T in its log file. Now the site B is going to respond with ready T message because it is ready to commit, but site C writes abort T message because it is not ready to commit. So this way they are going to respond. Now this decision is known to the transaction coordinator of initiating site A only. So now what happens is it has to decide. So transaction coordinator of site A decides to abort transaction because one of the transaction is not ready to commit. So this is atomic property. So all must be ready to commit, otherwise no one need to commit. So now the site A writes an abort T message in its log file, abort T message in log file, and communicate with abort T to all participating sites. All participating sites that it has been decided to abort the transaction T. In the step 4, the transaction managers of site B and C are updating the final status of that particular transaction. So they write abort T in their log file. Now the transaction is aborted. This is how the two-phase commit protocol works. We have discussed about the basics of distributed transaction in a distributed database management system with the commit protocol. So we have discussed about two-phase commit protocol, and with an example, with two different examples, one with all the participating sites are ready to commit, and in other case only few sites are not ready to commit. And there are advantages and disadvantages of this two-phase commit protocol. So advantage would be like it is very simple, we can easily handle it. The disadvantages, it's a blocking protocol. It's a blocking protocol. That is, if you are not going to get a message from one of these sites, now that is we have to wait for a longer time. Maybe like we can handle this situation by making the coordinator to wait for a threshold amount of time, then take the decision further, or we may need to wait for longer time. Second case is if the transaction is failed, transaction coordinator is failed, and all the other transaction managers, that is all the other participating sites, they don't have any idea about the status of the transaction coordinator. So in such case, they have to wait for a longer time, that is until this coordinator come back. So this is this way it is called as a blocking protocol. So what is the solution for blocking protocol is we have one more type of protocol is called three-phase commit protocol. Three-phase commit protocol. So where one more phase is added that takes care of the failure of or failure of network or failure of systems and so on, all these cases. Okay, thank you.